There are people making millions of dollars right now solving problems that you complain about every day. There are individuals becoming famous for doing things that you do naturally without even thinking about it. There are companies being built around ideas that you had years ago but never acted on because you thought they weren't important enough. While you've been convincing yourself that you're not qualified, not smart enough, or not ready. Other people with less talent and fewer resources have been turning their gifts into empires. The difference between you and them is not ability, it's courage. They were willing to look foolish for a season to avoid being insignificant for a lifetime. There was a man named Thomas who worked in a factory for 30 years. Every single day, for 3 decades. He would arrive at 7 in the morning, punch his time card, and take his position at station number 47. His job was simple. Take the small metal piece from the conveyor belt, attach it to another piece, and pass it down the line. Day after day, month after month, year after year, Thomas became the best at his station. His supervisor praised him. His co-workers respected him. He took pride in his speed and accuracy. But Thomas had no idea what he was making. The factory was enormous, with hundreds of workers at hundreds of stations. Each person focused only on their small part of the process. Thomas never questioned it. He just did his job, collected his paycheck, and went home to his family. For 30 years, this was his life, this was his existence. Then came the day of his retirement party. The factory manager stood up to honor Thomas for his 3 decades of faithful service. But instead of just giving him a gold watch and a handshake, the manager did something unusual. He walked Thomas through the entire factory, showing him every station, every process, every step of production. And finally, at the end of the tour, he opened a door that Thomas had never seen before. Wow! Inside that room were the most beautiful, precise, intricate timepieces Thomas had ever laid eyes on. Watches that would guide ship captains across dangerous waters. Chronometers that would help pilots navigate through storms and bring passengers safely home. Timepieces so accurate that scientists used them in their most critical experiments. The manager turned to Thomas and said, "For 30 years, you have been creating instruments that save lives, that guide people home, that help others accomplish great things. You weren't just attaching pieces of metal. You were building tools that make the world work." Thomas stood there in complete shock. For 30 years, he had been part of something magnificent, something that mattered, something that changed lives every single day. But he had been living like he was just moving pieces of metal from one place to another that night. Thomas went home a different man, not because his job had changed, but because his understanding had changed. He realized that he had been existing, but he had not been living. He had been functioning, but he had not been fulfilling his purpose. This is the story of most people walking on this planet today. They wake up, they go through the motions, they do their jobs, they pay their bills, they watch television, they go to bed, and they repeat the cycle. They exist, but they are not living. They function, but they have no idea why they were created. They're moving pieces around, but they have never seen the masterpiece they're supposed to be building, you see. There is a fundamental difference between existing and living with purpose. Existing is biological. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, your brain processes information. But living with purpose is biographical. It means your life tells a story that matters. It means you understand why you are here. Most people are sleepwalking through life. They have convinced themselves that survival is the same as success. They think that paying bills is the same as fulfilling destiny. They believe that being busy is the same as being productive. They assume that having a job is the same as having a calling. But they're wrong. Every single person who has ever been born came into this world with something inside them that the world needs. Not just wants, but needs. You were not created to fill space. You were not born to consume resources. You were not designed to just get by. You were manufactured with intention, crafted with purpose, and sent here on assignment. But here is the tragedy. Most people will die without ever discovering what that assignment was. They will spend their entire lives being good at things that don't matter, succeeding at things that don't count, and achieving things that don't last. They will be like Thomas, working faithfully at their station, but never understanding the bigger picture. The question that should keep you awake at night is not how can I make more money, or how can I be more comfortable, or how can I avoid problems. The question that should consume your thinking is this: why do I exist? What am I here to do? What problem was I born to solve? What value was I created to add to this world? Because until you answer that question, you are just moving pieces of metal from one place to another. You are just existing instead of living. You are just surviving instead of thriving. You are just functioning instead of fulfilling your purpose. The most dangerous thing in life is not failure. The most dangerous thing in life is succeeding at something that doesn't matter. It is possible to climb the ladder of success only to discover that your ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. It is possible to win the game and still lose your life. It is possible to achieve everything you thought you wanted and still feel empty inside. This is why so many people who have everything are still searching for something. This is why millionaires still feel poor. This is why famous people still feel invisible. This is why successful people still feel like failures. Because success without purpose is just sophisticated failure. You were not created to be a spare part in someone else's machine. You were created to be the main character in your own story. You were not designed to be a supporting actor in someone else's dream. You were designed to be the star of your own purpose-driven life. But first, you must wake up from the sleep of ordinary existence and realize that everything you think you know about why you are here might be completely wrong. Now that you understand the difference between existing and living, you need to understand something fundamental about how you were created. Every single thing that has ever been manufactured contains within it the mind of its manufacturer. When you look at a computer, you are seeing the thoughts of its designer. When you drive a car, you are experiencing the vision of its creator. When you use a smartphone, you are touching the imagination of its inventor. Nothing complex is ever created by accident. Everything that functions well was designed with intention. And you, my friend, are the most complex, most sophisticated creation that has ever existed, which means that within you is the mind, the intention, the vision, and the purpose of your creator. But here is what most people do not realize. The blueprint for your purpose is not hidden somewhere outside of you, waiting to be discovered. It is not written in some book that you need to find. It is not locked away in some secret place that requires special access. The blueprint for your purpose is already inside you. It has been there since the day you were born. It is woven into the fabric of who you are. Let me tell you about Maria. She lived in a small village where most women worked in the fields or cleaned houses for wealthy families. Maria worked as a seamstress, but not the kind you might think. She mended torn clothes, fixed broken zippers, and patched holes in old garments. It was humble work, and she made just enough money to feed her children, but there was something different about Maria. When she fixed a torn dress, she would not just sew it back together. She would add a small decorative touch. When she mended a shirt, she would adjust the fit to make it more flattering. When she patched a hole, she would turn it into a beautiful design element. She could not help herself. It was just how her mind worked. The other women in the village thought Maria was wasting time with these unnecessary additions. They told her to just fix the clothes and move on to the next job. But Maria felt something inside her that she could not ignore. Every time she touched fabric, her mind would see possibilities that others could not see. One day, a wealthy woman from the city brought Maria a damaged designer dress. It was expensive, and the woman was upset because she thought it was ruined. But when Maria returned the dress, it was not just fixed, it was transformed. The woman had never seen such creative, beautiful work. She asked Maria to create an original dress for her daughter's wedding. That was the beginning of everything. Word spread quickly. Orders started coming from the city. Maria began hiring other women from the village. Within 5 years, she had created a business that employed over 100 people. Her designs were being sold in major cities. Fashion magazines were writing articles about her unique style. And here is the important part. Maria did not suddenly become talented when she started her business. The talent was always there. The creativity was always there. The ability to see what others could not see was always there. It was built into who she was from the beginning. She just had to recognize it, develop it, and give it expression. This is how purpose works. It is not something you have to go out and find. It is something you have to recognize within yourself. Your purpose is already programmed into your personality, your passions, your natural abilities, and even your problems, the things that bother you, the things that excite you, the things that come naturally to you, the things that you cannot stop thinking about. These are all signals from your internal guidance system. But most people ignore these signals. They think that purpose has to look like something grand and dramatic. They think it has to be something that gets you on television or makes you famous. They think it has to be something that everyone else will understand and approve of. So they dismiss the quiet voice inside them that is trying to guide them toward their assignment. Your purpose is not necessarily what you are good at. There are many things you can do well that have nothing to do with why you were created. Your purpose is what you are designed for. It is what you are built to do. It is what comes so naturally to you that other people are amazed by your ability, but to you it feels effortless. Maria was not the only woman in her village who could sew, but she was the only one who could not sew without creating something beautiful. That was her signal. That was her blueprint showing itself. That was her purpose trying to get her attention. What is it that you do differently from everyone else? What is it about your approach to things that makes people say, I never thought of it that way? What problems do you notice that other people seem to ignore? What solutions do you see that other people miss? What bothers you about the way things are currently being done? These are not random thoughts. These are messages from your manufacturer. These are clues about your assignment. These are signals from the blueprint that lives inside you. But there is something that will keep you from recognizing and following your internal blueprint. It is the most dangerous trap that human beings fall into. It is the reason why most people never fulfill their purpose. It is called comparison. When you start measuring your life by someone else's success, you will lose sight of your own assignment. Let me tell you about Robert. He owned a small farm that his grandfather had left him. The land was fertile, the crops grew well, and Robert made a decent living. But Robert had a problem. His neighbor down the road had struck gold on his property and became wealthy overnight. Suddenly, Robert felt like his farming was worthless. He felt embarrassed about working the soil when his neighbor was getting rich from what seemed like luck. So Robert made a decision that would change his life forever, but not in the way he expected. He sold his farm equipment, stopped planting crops, and spent all his time and money trying to find gold on his property. He dug holes everywhere. He hired people to help him search. He bought expensive equipment to detect precious metals. For 3 years, he searched for gold and found nothing. Meanwhile, his fields grew weeds. His farmhouse fell into disrepair. His savings disappeared. Robert became bitter and angry. He felt like life was unfair. He felt like he had been cheated. He felt like everyone else was getting the opportunities that should have been his. Finally, when Robert had no money left and was about to lose his property, a businessman came to look at the land. The man was not interested in gold. He was interested in oil. After some testing, they discovered that Robert's farm was sitting on one of the largest oil reserves in the region. The land that Robert had abandoned to chase gold was worth millions of dollars in black gold. But here is the tragedy. Robert had wasted 3 years of his life trying to be like his neighbor instead of developing what he already had. If he had just kept farming, kept improving his land, kept working with what was already in his hands, he would have discovered the oil much sooner. His obsession with copying someone else's success almost cost him his own fortune. This is what comparison does to you. It makes you abandon your own assignment to chase someone else's achievement. It makes you feel inadequate about your own gifts because they do not look like someone else's gifts. It makes you think that your purpose is less valuable because it does not get the same attention as someone else's purpose. But here is what you must understand. Your purpose was not designed to look like anyone else's purpose. Your assignment is unique to you. Your gifts are specifically crafted for the problems you were born to solve. When you try to be someone else, you rob the world of the original contribution that only you can make. The reason you feel frustrated when you try to copy someone else is because you are operating outside of your design. You are trying to use yourself in a way that you were not built for. It is like trying to use a screwdriver as a hammer. It might work for a while, but it will never be as effective as using the right tool for the job. Your uniqueness is not an accident. It is an assignment. The things that make you different from everyone else are exactly the things that make you valuable to the world. When you try to hide your differences or change them to fit in, you are rejecting the very qualities that are supposed to set you apart. Stop looking at other people's lives and wishing you had what they have. Stop measuring your progress by someone else's timeline. Stop judging your success by someone else's definition. Start recognizing that your path is supposed to be different because your destination is different. The moment you stop trying to be someone else is the moment you can start becoming who you were created to be. And now you understand that your purpose is already inside you. And you know that comparison will keep you from it. But understanding your purpose and activating your purpose are two completely different things. Knowledge without action is just expensive education. You can know everything about your purpose and still live a purposeless life if you never do anything about what you know. This is where most people get stuck. They recognize their gifts. They understand their calling. They see their assignment clearly, but they never move from understanding to doing. They become professional students of their own potential. They analyze themselves to death, but never bring their purpose to life. Let me tell you about David. He worked as a night janitor in a large office building downtown. While everyone else went home to their families, David would arrive at 6 p.m. and clean offices until sunrise. It was not glamorous work. But David took pride in doing it well. He was thorough, reliable, and careful with people's belongings. But David was also observant. As he cleaned, he noticed things that others missed. He saw which doors were left unlocked that should have been secured. He noticed which windows were easily accessible from the outside. He observed how people left confidential documents on their desks where anyone could read them. He watched how visitors could walk through the building without anyone questioning their presence for months. David kept these observations to himself. He thought it was not his place to say anything. After all, he was just a janitor. Who would listen to him about security matters? But the observations kept building up in his mind. He could see so clearly how vulnerable the building was, how easy it would be for someone with bad intentions to cause serious problems. Finally, David made a decision that changed everything. He wrote a detailed report about all the security weaknesses he had observed. He included practical solutions for each problem. He presented it to the building manager, expecting to be dismissed or even fired for overstepping his boundaries. But the opposite happened. The building manager was amazed by David's insights. He had never seen such a thorough practical security analysis. The manager implemented every one of David's suggestions. The building became significantly more secure, and several potential incidents were prevented. Word spread quickly about David's security expertise. Other building managers started asking for his advice. Companies began hiring him to assess their security systems. Within 2 years, David had left his janitor position and started his own security consulting firm. Today, he advises major corporations and government buildings on security protocols. But here is the key point. David's gift for seeing security problems was always there. His ability to notice what others missed was always there. His talent for finding practical solutions was always there. But none of it mattered until he decided to act on what he knew. Your purpose is not activated by thinking about it. It is not activated by talking about it. It is not activated by planning to do something about it someday. Your purpose is only activated when you take action based on what you know about yourself. You must be willing to start where you are with what you have right now. You cannot wait until you have more education, more money, more connections, or more confidence. You cannot wait until the timing is perfect or until you have all the answers. You must be willing to take the first step with incomplete information and imperfect circumstances. The seed of your purpose will never grow until you plant it in the soil of action. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for guarantees. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start activating what is already inside you. You now understand that your purpose lives inside you, that comparison will derail you, and that knowledge without action is worthless. But there is one final truth you must grasp if you want to live a life that truly matters. Your purpose was never designed to be just about you. It was designed to be bigger than you. It was created to serve something greater than your personal happiness, your personal success, or your personal fulfillment. The moment you make your purpose only about what you can get from life, you have missed the point entirely. The moment you focus only on how your gifts can benefit you, you have reduced your calling to a career. The moment you think about your purpose only in terms of what it can do for you, you have turned your assignment into a selfish ambition. Your purpose was designed to solve problems for other people. Your gifts were given to you so you could add value to other people's lives. Your talents were placed inside you so you could make the world better than you found it. This is not just a nice idea or a spiritual concept. This is the practical reality of how purpose works. Think about every person who has ever made a significant impact in this world. They did not become great by focusing on their own needs. They became great by focusing on other people's needs. They did not achieve lasting success by trying to take from the world. They achieved lasting success by trying to give to the world. They did not create meaningful lives by asking what the world could do for them. They created meaningful lives by asking what they could do for the world. When you shift your focus from what you can get to what you can give, something powerful happens inside you. Your energy increases. Your creativity expands. Your motivation becomes unstoppable. Because you are finally operating the way you were designed to operate. You are finally using your gifts for their intended purpose. But here is what most people do not realize. When you use your purpose to serve others, you do not lose yourself, you find yourself. When you invest your gifts in solving other people's problems, you do not become poor, you become rich in ways that money cannot measure. When you spend your life adding value to others, you do not waste your life. This is what I call the generation principle. When you fulfill your purpose, you do not just change your own life, you create opportunities for other people to fulfill their purpose as well. You become a source of possibility for others. You become a catalyst for other people's success. You become a bridge between where people are and where they need to be. Look at every great leader, every successful entrepreneur, every influential teacher, every impactful artist. They did not just fulfill their own purpose. Their fulfillment of purpose created platforms, opportunities, and inspiration for countless other people to discover and fulfill their purpose as well. This is how the world gets better. This is how progress happens. This is how one life can impact generations. But this kind of impact does not happen by accident. It happens when you make intentional decisions every single day to align your actions with your purpose. It happens when you choose to invest your time, your energy, and your resources in developing your gifts. It happens when you refuse to settle for a life of mere existence and commit yourself to a life of meaningful contribution. Every decision you make either moves you closer to your purpose or further away from it. Every hour you spend either develops your gifts or wastes your potential. Every relationship you build either supports your assignment or distracts you from it. Every dollar you spend either invests in your future or mortgages your destiny. You must become intentional about living your purpose. You cannot just hope it will happen. You cannot just wait for it to unfold naturally. You must make deliberate choices that create the conditions where your purpose can flourish. You must be willing to say no to good opportunities so you can say yes to great opportunities. You must be willing to sacrifice temporary comfort for permanent significance. There is a test I want you to think about. It is called the deathbed test. When your time on this earth is coming to an end, what will matter to you? Will it be the size of your bank account or the size of your impact? Will it be the number of things you accumulated or the number of lives you influenced? Will it be how comfortable you were or how meaningful you were? Will it be what you received from the world or how meaningful you were? Will it be what you received from the world or how meaningful you were? Will it be what you received from the world or how meaningful you were? Will it be what you received from the world or how meaningful you were? Will it be what you received from the world? The people who die with the greatest peace are not the people who had the most money. They are not the people who were the most famous. They are not the people who had the easiest lives. They are the people who know that they used their gifts, fulfilled their assignment, and made a difference that will outlast their physical presence on earth. Your purpose is calling you right now. It has been calling you your entire life. It is calling you through your natural abilities, your deepest passions, your greatest concerns, and your unique perspective on the problems around you. The question is not whether you have a purpose. The question is whether you will answer the call. Stop waiting for someday. Someday is not a day of the week. Stop waiting for tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is right now. Stop waiting for permission from other people. The permission you need is already inside you. Your existence is not an accident. Your life is not a coincidence. Your gifts are not random. Your concerns are not meaningless. Your dreams are not impossible. You were created on purpose, with purpose, for purpose. The world is waiting for what you have to offer. The question is, will you give it to them? The time for existing is over. The time for living your purpose has begun.